MMA is a sport where the referee's margin for error is much smaller than in other combat sports.
At a certain point, I jumped up from my chair and said, "Stop the goddamn fight," because it was that bad.
Primarily because there is no 10-second count when a fighter gets dropped or hurt.
That's it. It's over. That's it, ref. Oh, what else do you need? When he's out again. Oh my goodness. That was disgusting.
But the action rather continues until the referee makes a subjective call to intervene and stop the fight, which makes the decision-making process more complicated.
Did he nearly out on his feet? Not sure what the referee needs to see. Stop the fight! Oh, stop the fight! Come on, bro!
And this gentleman, you shouldn't be doing professional fights anymore. You took a guy who was a very good fighter, a very tough individual. I hate to say it, you just ruined his career.
When it comes to stoppages, it is a thin line between stopping the fight too early or letting the fighter take unnecessary damage which may result in serious injuries and can have long-term consequences on their health and career.
And now back to the body goes Soto! Migliotta has yet to stop the fight. Souza stops striking. Now he stops it.
Crazy. Jacare tried to say stop the fight. Dan said it's not stopped yet, and he hit him again.
And in this video, we're about to see the worst examples of UFC referees making mistakes and being late to stop the fight.
It pissed me off. This injury is because the referee. If the guys keep holding the triangle the whole time instead of switching to the armbar, I will be dead.
This is tight. Vasquez is asleep.
He is out.
Is he out? He's out.
My coach was yelling, stop the fight, my guy is out. The commentator was saying, Frank, stop the fight, Frank. And the commission guy was next to him, told him, sir, please sit down, don't tell us how to do our work.
I think he's asleep.
He's out. Oh my gosh, what is happening? Surprise, surprise! The king is back!
Jalen Turner vs. Bobby Green.
Kerry Hatley is my friend. It wasn't his night in making this call. And he wasn't seeing the severity of the shots that Bobby was taking because Jalen was unloading on him. At a certain point, I jumped up from my chair and said, "Stop the goddamn fight," because it was that bad. And, it got to the point where Bobby went out and he still took a couple of shots.
This was deemed one of the most brutal stoppages in recent times. At UFC Austin, Kerry Hatley made a near-fatal error in the bout. Jalen Turner started off strong with leg kicks, and halfway through the round, he landed a nasty right hand that had Green doing the chicken dance. He follows up with a 1-2, and Green drops to the mat. The fight should have ended there, as he was clearly unable to defend himself.
The kickboxer champion. He really is. He's just double jab. That's it. It's over. That's it, ref. Oh, what else do you need? What else do you need?
Hatley was looking at the action closely and had no intention to stop the fight. It was a if he dies moment.
If he dies, he dies.
Turner had to land an additional 19 punches until it was stopped.
Hey, what is going on? He's out again. Oh my goodness.
It looked like Hatley wanted to make sure Green was unconscious before the fight ended, and this had everyone shocked.
Maybe more than that. That was disgusting. That was a terrible stop. People's lives are at stake. That was utterly disgusting and disgraceful. I bet if he was face down on the octagon with people cracking him in the face, he'd want it to be stopped sooner.
And I'll be surprised if Hatley is used again after this performance.
What do you think about that stoppage?
The ref, he just didn't see, I don't know, bro. He just waited until Bobby was out.
Referee, not so great.
Yeah, one of the worst I've ever seen. Yeah. We've had some refs say some dumb shit in the past, like, oh, I allowed her to be a warrior tonight, and goofy shit like that. He knows that he made a mistake tonight, and he does not feel good about it. It's unfortunate. Definitely a bad stoppage.
Davison
Very bad.
Yeah.
Tanner Boza vs. Rafael Pessoa. Herb Dean had a shocker at UFC Fight Island 3 with 2 late stoppages, which caused the commentary team to call him out and interfere in the fight. The first one involved the heavyweights Tanner Boza and Rafael Pessoa. In the second round, Boza threw a hook and it landed into the eye of Pessoa, who then backed away and fell to the ground. Boza rushed in to finish the fight.
That wasn't quite as mobile.
Oh, that's a big shot. That's him. That's it.
Boza's gonna get the finish.
And he said, "That's over, ref."
And Pessoa covered up as soon as he hit the canvas. Thanks to Herb Dean, Boza had the opportunity to land 10 more devastating punches to the head of Pessoa before he eventually called off the fight. The commentary team were not happy.
It's over, ref. Big shots.
Francisco Trinaldo vs. Jay Herbert. This was probably Herb Dean's worst late stoppage, and it is really hard to defend him on this one. With around 90 seconds left in the third, Herbert's legs instantly crumbled upon receiving a nasty left hand from Trinaldo, who respectfully didn't want to punish him any further, as even Herbert put his arms out, clearly signifying he's done.
Oh! What a knockout!
But but according to the rules, it's the referee's job to stop the match, and Trinado needed to land a few extra shots to convince the veteran referee Herbert was out.
It's not over. Come on! It's not over.
Stop the fight!
That's the second time now, Dan.
That's 2 times now.
Working at the commentator's desk at the time was the close friend of Herbert, former UFC fighter and analyst Dan Hardy, who verbally attacked Dean both live on air and backstage, which received a big media spotlight, even forcing Dean to come out in public to defend his decision and react to the negative backlash.
The fight that some people say could have been stopped earlier, I think it was stopped late. By no means was that a late stoppage.
As far as the UFC is concerned, Dana White acknowledged the bad stoppage, as well as Dan Hardy being unprofessional and crossing the line, which later certainly contributed to his departure from the company.
If you work for me and you approach a judge or a referee, I will fire you. You will lose your job. You will never work for me again if you do that.
Elisa dos Santos vs Benoit St. Denis. The referee Vyacheslav Kiselev will go down in the history books as the first referee who got pulled off the card from further officiating in the middle of the show, and by many for the right reason.
And this gentleman, you shouldn't be doing professional fights anymore because you don't have the common sense to know when you are required to do your job and stop the fight and take someone out of taking any more damage in the fight.
Oh, stop the fight! Come on! Look at Mark Goddard. Mark Goddard's looking over like, what in the world is going on?
If he dies, memes will be coming out all over the place soon.
The match between Santos and Dennis was everything but competitive, with the Brazilian leading the dance on the feet from the start, outstriking the Frenchman and controlling the fight. It could and should have been all over in the second, where Santos wobbled Dennis on multiple occasions.
He's not going to back down.
Oh my goodness.
But he's wise not. Oh! Big right hand wobble, soaked it in.
Before backing him up against the fence to unload with more than 100 punches.
Up did he? Nearly out on his feet. Not sure what the referee needs to see.
But the referee should stop the fight. Oh my goodness. Oh! Dos Santos is like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
Stop the fight!
Despite being out on his feet and barely standing while eating shot after shot, Kiselev's decision to let the fight go was probably based on the fact Dennis was still alive and conscious.
He does have another assignment later tonight, the main card opener, Ankalaev and Uzdemir.
I'd like to see if they let him come back out here to officiate that fight. Dana might go grab him out of there.
He's watching. He's not happy, I imagine.
This is one of the worst examples of officiating in the UFC I'd ever seen. And I've seen some bad officiating. He did a horrible job. Thank God for guys like Mark Ratner, who got on the phone and made sure that that person was done for the night and was not going to do another fight. You took a guy who was a very good fighter, a very tough individual. I hate to say it, you just ruined his career.
And Daniel Cormier was quick to tweet that Kiselev's performance inside the octagon was the worst he'd seen from a referee in his lifetime. Dana White's response was way stronger as he fired the referee mid-event.
The arena, a little of a weird situation with the referee in the Dos Santos fight. They could have been stopped many times, and then he was removed from his duties the rest of the night. Can you remember an incident like this with a referee?
Yeah, we've had lots of incidents with referees. We've removed guys on the middle of cards too, but this was pretty bad, horrible.
Derek Lewis vs Travis Brown. Heavyweight late stoppages just hit differently because of the power these giants generate in each shot, and one of the worst examples was that involving the powerhouse Derek Lewis and his victim Travis Brown, and of course Mr. Late Stoppage himself, Mario Yamasaki, who has been involved in dozens of controversial situations.
And most of the mistakes or the fuck-ups I did, on reffing was because I was either not concentrated or didn't study the fighters. I was just, too many media, too many of these. So if you don't concentrate, it's no good.
After back and forth action in the first round where both fighters got hurt multiple times, Lewis caught Brown right on the temple with one of his bombs with 2 minutes to go in the second, sending him down to the canvas. The Black Beast moved in to close the show, landing around 11 clean punches to the face before Yamasaki decided to step in.
Oh, the right hand sends Brown down again and possibly out.
The problem was, Brown was already out after the 7th shot, and seeing his head bouncing off the canvas with his eyes rolled over is as brutal as it gets. Afterwards, Yamasaki publicly admitted the mistake without making any excuses.
You gotta jump in and stop that fight. He does not need to put him to sleep here.
And what'd you think of the stoppage? I think a lot of people thought Mario Yamasaki got in there at least a few shots too late.
Well, yeah, I give him $1,000. I appreciate for letting the fight go a little longer than what it would. Because I just want to get all my anger out on Travis' face anyway because he liked to hit on women. So I appreciate him for doing that.
Valentina Shevchenko vs Priscilla Cachoeira. Back in 2018, an already established contender and former title challenger Valentina Shevchenko traveled to Brazil to face a promotional newcomer Priscilla Cachoeira in the hostile territory. But right from the opening minute, it. It was obvious that the Brazilian was in for a rough night in the office, as Shevchenko went on to quickly secure a top position and elbow the living hell out of the Brazilian.
It's advertised through the first 90 seconds of this first round, and a huge cut opened up on Priscilla Cachoeira,
to the point where the corner of the cage looked like a crime scene. The one-sided beating continued in the second round, with all eyes looking into Yamasaki.
Ground and pound, and the level of taking 130 plus strikes. And now in full mount. And look out!
This might get stopped. Oh, she turtled.
Who was in no business of stopping the fight.
Turns over, turns her back.
Just casually standing there and observing the beating, as Cachoeira wasn't offering anything in return. The difference in strikes landed was 230 to 3, for God's sake.
Shevchenko staying busy. Well over 200 strikes.
Valentina just absolutely teeing off on Cachoeira, but she's surviving, she's still fighting.
Finally, Shevchenko decided to end it all by taking her back and submitting via rear naked choke.
Still looking for a way out of it.
That's a tap.
And there's the tap.
Yamasaki received negative backlash from all the fans and media because this wasn't his first time doing a bad job.
He said that he was allowing Priscilla to be a warrior. What do you think about that statement?
I think it's disgusting. I think it's disgusting. I think he's disgusting, and I never want to see him reffing ever again. No, you moron. You're in there to protect her from herself. He makes me sick. That guy has no business reffing fights, and I promise you, you're not going to see him again.
And the Athletic Commission soon removed him from refereeing UFC events.
Dana White, he's just, media talk. Said about me, oh, you're not going to step in the octagon again, blah, blah, blah. Those things are the one that shows most, not my 798 fights that I did right. They don't care. They care what about what you did wrong. Every time, punching, said, I'm going to stop the fight. I'm going to stop the fight. She moved. So then, I have to go by my words. And that's how, I should have changed. So I learned my lesson.
Shane Carwin vs. Frank Mir. In the late 2000s, Shane Carwin stood for one of the hardest punches in the game, probably the most feared heavyweight of the era, and someone you shouldn't let do any extra damage to his opponents. Unfortunately for Frank Mir, that's what happened when they faced at UFC 111. With 90 seconds left in the round, Carwin landed a nasty left hook followed by a series of hard uppercuts, which eventually dropped Mir, who continued to take punches to the head without offering much in return.
There's a left by Carwin, a couple of big uppercuts. Frank Mir's in trouble. Frank Mir's in big trouble.
With Rogan declaring it's over and I think he's out on multiple occasions.
Carwin looking for the finish. That's it. The finish Frank Mir. It's over. It's over.
Mir desperately tried to roll, only to end up flattened, face first on the canvas, clearly out.
I think he's out, Mike. He's out. Jesus, stop the fight. He's unconscious.
And Carwin on top of him, landing an additional 7 clean punches to the unconscious Mir.
I thought Dan Migliotta would have stopped it sooner. He's already collapsing. He's flattened out. Easily could have been stopped there. I mean, I don't know what Dan Migliotta was waiting for. He was already out.
Later on, Carwin said that it felt weird that the referee Dan Migliotta let Mir get punched longer than necessary, and he sarcastically added that Dan is maybe a big fan of Mir. Jacare Souza vs. Chris Weidman. Referee Dan Migliotta is widely regarded as one of the most reliable referees. However, he made a massive mistake in the co-main event at UFC 230 for letting the former middleweight champion Chris Weidman take extra damage after being knocked down and clearly out of the fight.
And now back to the body goes Souza! He's down!
After a competitive 2 rounds, the Brazilian managed to find a winning shot and land a hard right hook to the temple, which sent Weidman down to the canvas. And although he was still conscious, Weidman clearly didn't know what was going on.
Dan Migliotta has yet to stop the fight! Souza stops striking! Now he stops it!
Souza respectfully didn't want to follow up with any extra shots, but Migliotta quite bizarrely decided to let the action go, even verbally reminding Souza that the fight is still on, all while Weidman was trying to get a hold of the single leg on autopilot, clearly not consciously being there.
Crazy, Jacare tried to say stop the fight, Dan said it's not stopped yet, and he hit him again, and it clearly, Jacare was correct there.
With Migliotta not wanting to intervene, Souza had to land additional hammer fist to an already concussed Weidman.
Jacare pleads with the referee to stop it, and Jacare says, come on, man,
he's
don't make me hit him again.
You let him hit him 4 more times. And look, props to Jacare. He didn't even want to have to put those shots in.
Which left the entire MMA world in disbelief. Mustafa Al-Turk vs. Czech Congo. MMA fans knew something bad was about to happen from the moment this fight was announced. First, it was a big mismatch to put the newcomer Al-Turk against Czech Congo in his prime, who at the time was already an established contender. And second, to assign Steve Mazzagatti, one of, if not the worst UFC referee referee in history to be a third man inside the cage. With the 50s left on the clock in the first, Congo dropped Turk with a big right hand and jumped all over him to close the show with a barrage of punches and elbows.
Very comfortable with it.
Oh, he got rocked again.
Oh, big right hands.
Congo looking to finish.
Oh,
Congo
man.
all over El Turk. Elbows to the face.
The worst part was that Turk was visibly hurt to the point he could no longer defend himself.
El Turk trying to protect himself.
Mazzagatti's taking a real close look at him, but Czech Congo is swarming on him.
Wow, what a pace.
Which gave a lot of space to Congo to posture up and rain down shots without worrying much about Turk standing up. Mazzagatti went on to enjoy this horror movie for 30 straight seconds before deciding to do something about it.
Mustafa Al Turk's a tough guy though. He's not relenting. Oh man, hammer fists.
Hammer fist, he's vicious, ground and pound.
Oh man.
And it is all over.
What a mess.
If you ever watch Mazzagatti ref a fight, he fucking stands there like this. He's doing his fucking grocery list, or sometimes he'll go like this and start looking like this when they're not even fucking doing anything. When they're doing shit, he's not in there when he's supposed to be in there.
And later on, he would hide behind the commission and defend his actions by saying, "The commission is happy with my performance."
That one comes straight down the middle. And then these hammer fists just over and over again.
Khalid Mattazlia vs. CB Dollaway. That September evening in Moscow, the home favorite Khalid Mattazlia beat the living hell out of CB Dollaway, thanks to Herb Dean's late stoppage.
Surely this fight needs stopping.
What is he doing? He has to stop the fight.
Herb Dean should stop this fight.
And it's amazing how a referee with such experience and reputation can make such a catastrophic mistake. And it all happened at the end of the second round, when already hurt Dollaway got into big trouble with Mattazlia, landing big shots from the top.
This could be the beginning of the end here.
Big shots here from Muzzleif. Dollaway's had enough.
It's over.
Dollaway had no answer for the vicious ground and pound, and at one point he rolled, turtled onto his stomach, and offered no defense whatsoever to the upcoming shots, which was a clear signal he was done.
Herb Dean should stop this fight.
He's encouraging Mattazlia to carry on. They are
To everyone's shock, Herb Dean allowed Dollaway to eat a frightening amount of unanswered shots, despite the beating lasting for over 30 seconds at that point. Somehow, Dollaway reached the horn conscious.
Wow. He's made it out of the round. I think the fight is still going on. I think Herb Dean waved off the round, but not the fight.
And he immediately told Dean, "I'm done," to which the veteran referee replied, "Get back to the stool."
You have to get up. If you don't get up, I'm going to stop the fight. Are you want to fight? Done? Fight's over.
Which clearly shows you how unaware Dean was about the situation. Eventually, Dollaway needed to say "I'm done" 2 more times to make Dean finally realize he doesn't want to fight anymore.
That should have been stopped probably 10 strikes earlier. That was one of the most the latest stoppages I've seen.
I normally like Herb Dean, but that was a big mistake on his part right there. He's not even trying to get his guard back, Dan. Look at this. He's just laying flat with his knee over here. That's not right for CB Dollaway.
Paul Craig vs. Jamal Hill. This was one of the worst late stoppages in recent times. At UFC 263 submission specialist, Paul Craig took on Jamal Hill. The referee for this bout was Al Guinea, who was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor at Gracie Barra Academy in Arizona. It didn't take long for Craig to pull guard and shift the fight to the ground. Hill evaded a few submission attempts from Craig at the start, but then finally got caught in an armbar.
He's got it. That's a wrap.
Craig persisted to yank his arm and twist it at multiple angles, to the point where Hill's arm had snapped. The fight should have been over.
Oh, it's not good. It's not good.
It's not good.
Maybe
his arm's broken.
A dislocation.
But to everyone's amazement, the referee was the only one not to see this happen.
It's completely broken. Oh my god.
Even Craig was shocked that it wasn't stopped. Al Guinea let the fight go with Jamal's arm flailing away in a triangle choke, while Craig had to land hammer fist after hammer fist to his head, and the only reason the fight was stopped was because Hill's arm was swinging around so wildly that the ref thought he was tapping out.
Look at his arms just flopping around.
And
that
the referee,
crazy.
Al Guinea, he's going to stop the fight.
Apologies, I'm the jiu-jitsu guy. Either tap, nap, or it snaps. And tonight, I happened to snap.
We were stunned that it wasn't stopped. When you were hitting him with the hammer fist, you could see it flopping around like a rubber arm.
I could feel that. It was like a white fish just dancing all over my body.
Dana White took to the press conference and referred to Al Guinea as the Arizona's Mazzagatti.
That's a rough one, yeah. It's a local ref. I heard this guy's a jiu-jitsu black belt. Is that true?
Yeah, sure is. If you go to a local fight and he's reffing, you know something's gonna happen.
Oh, really? Oh, he's the Arizona Mazzagatti?
100%.
Okay.
Alguini was taken off the card from further officiating on the night. Edgar Chairez vs Gianni Vasquez. This fight was refereed by Frank Collazo. In early 2023, Collazo drew a storm of criticism on social media for nearly forcing a murder. And trust me, we're not trying to blow things out of proportion just for the sake of it.
He's breathing like he's asleep.
He's out!
I think he's asleep!
He's out!
Where everything was going well until Chairez locked his foe in a triangle choke. Within seconds, Vasquez was out cold.
Here we go.
Here's a triangle
He's got to figure for it.
This is tight!
Vasquez is asleep.
He is out!
Is he out? He's breathing like he's out.
But Collazo failed to recognize the fallen fighter's body going limp. Chairez wouldn't let go for obvious reasons, but he thankfully shifted to an armbar, which allowed Vasquez to return from the dead and ultimately tap out. And even that was a struggle.
It took me like about 2 seconds to pass out. I kind of wake up and then pass out again, and I start feeling pain on my arm, which make me wake up. If you see the video, I start tapping with my feet. When I finally go back to myself, then I start like tapping with the hand, and then
Frank, he's out! He's out!
Frank, it's done! What are you doing? It's done! What is he doing? Tap! Oh my gosh, what is happening?
I hear people screaming, stop the fight. I hear my coach screaming like, stop the fight. The commentary was saying, Frank, 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 stop the fight. Frank, 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 stop the fight. Stop the fight. He's out. And then the referee didn't stop the fight.
He is out! He's out!
I think he's asleep.
He's out! Oh no!
Yeah, he's out.
Wow.
He's out.
My coach was yelling, stop the fight. My guy is out. My guy is gonna get hurt. Stop the fight. And the commission guy was next to him, told him, sir, please sit down. Don't tell us how to do our work. That's what they told him.
Frank, he's out. He's out. He's out.
Frank, what? Oh my gosh, Frank, it's done! Frank, it's done!
It pissed me off because this injury is not because my opponent, it's because the referee. Because if the referee would do his job the right way, they should have stopped the fight when I went out. I just think about like, if the guys keep holding the triangle for the whole time instead of switching to the armbar, I will be dead.
Dana White was asked about Collazo's blunder, and this is what he had to say.
I don't know if you had seen it yet, but last night there was a pretty big refereeing blunder.
That's the kind of stuff that I really, really don't like. I mean, if the guy gets choked unconscious and you don't know he's choked unconscious, they pull him into an armbar. It doesn't get any worse than that. You shouldn't be reffing if that happens.
So there you have it, the worst late stoppages in UFC history and beyond. And if you enjoyed this video, take a look at our worst refereeing moments series. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.